Hi, kitty cats. I am Amethysta Herrick, your hostess for the Purplepaw, a weekly discussion from your friends at the Purplepaw clan, exploring the intersection of identity and gender, sexuality and intimacy, and community and spirituality. This content right here is brought to you by supporters of the Purplepaw clan. If you're already a supporter, first of all, thank you so much for your ongoing support. You know very well that subscribers not only receive new content directly to their email inboxes as soon as it publishes, but are also able to interact with every contributor directly, which includes me. And if you don't want to interact with me, I gotta tell you, I have no idea what could possibly be wrong with you. So, if you would like to support shows just like this one, as well as other podcasts, videos, and written articles by our contributors, I hope you will consider subscribing using those links you're going to find down there in the show notes. All right, I am very honored to be speaking with Russell Van Brocklen. Hello, Russell.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for showing up. It's great to be talking to you. Russell is the Dyslexia professor, which is so much fun to say. I sat here in my room earlier. I was just like, Dyslexia professor. It rolls off of my tongue and it feels good. Russell's work uses structured literacy methods for the purpose of improving reading performance. The method also uses something that interests me very much, which is written self-expression, to change a client's perception of themselves, which I guess improves reading performance. I'm struggling a little bit here with this intro, aren't I? So let me start off with sort of the origin story, because I always love these. I always love to hear what got you into this. Can you tell me what inspired you, first of all? Like, something must have happened earlier on in your life. What inspired you to study the effect of writing on dyslexia?
Well, it started off when, in the late 90s, I did the New York State Assembly internship program. And because of the severity of my dyslexia, I had a first grade reading and writing ability. So they put me in the Majority Leaders Program and Counsel's office, where there are 3 administrative assistants. When I had to do a major research project for the academic portion, and I ended up doing an oral presentation, which was a very standard accommodation for me at that time.
Okay.
And this went on for over an hour, and there was a lot of questions back and forth. And at the end, they recommended an A- for 15 credits.
Sure.
Well, because I gave a oral presentation instead of a written paper, the political science department at the State University of New York at Buffalo said, "We don't like these accommodations. Here's your 15 credits of F." Never has happened. No, I got 15 credits of F on my transcript. Do you have any idea what that does to a GPA?
Well, I do. No, I don't actually. But they just say they didn't like the accommodation? Because isn't that kind of what we're supposed to do in this world?
Well, you have to remember, this is the New York State Assembly. They had a whole committee on me. They had about 7 or 8 senior people, including senior professors, that literally decided to give me all these accommodations, and it worked. And with their infinite wisdom, they said, "Here's your 15 credits of F."
Yeah.
And then 27 years later, it's still there. And I said, only time in the history of the program. They've been doing this for so many decades, and it's like 150 kids per year. All right.
Yeah.
So I said, enough of this garbage. I'm solving dyslexia. So I took the most radical thing I could think of. I decided to, after college, to audit law school in contracts and property. I specifically went to here I am going into law school with a first grade reading and writing level. Okay. And I went and I specifically went to see a professor called Professor Warner, a dyslexic law professor. Second day of contracts, he calls on me. They use the Socratic method. Are you familiar with that?
Sure, you ask questions. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's much worse. If you want it, there's a movie version of it called The Paper Chase from the 70s.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And what they do is, if they ask you a question, if you don't know the answer, and when your first couple of days of law school, pretty much nobody knows anything, they keep asking you questions to embarrass you with the idea of encouraging you to learn as fast as possible to argue any point of law, anytime, from any position.
That would do
Well,
it. Or make you leave law school altogether.
I have seen people run out of the room crying. Okay.
Sure.
So he called on me and he was being rough because just that's how he liked to teach. He's brilliant, very nice guy, but in the classroom, he really piled on. Things slowed down. Everything clicked. All right. It was like I'm running at light speed and then everybody else has concrete galoshes. They can't move. I could see 4 to 6 steps ahead. I knew what
Okay.
he was going to ask. I knew which way he was going. He knew where I was going, what I was going to do. He's been a professor for 30 years. So after the conclusion, we're going back and forth like politely, but we're just jabbing at each other back and forth, rapid fire for 15 minutes.
Oh
He said at
gosh.
the end, Russell, you couldn't be any more correct. In the interest of time, I have to move on to the next case. My classmates looked at me in utter shock and terror because the ones that continued on to graduation, they would call me afterwards and say, I graduated from law school. I passed the bar. I can't do half of what you did the first day of
Wow.
contracts.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Then we moved on to property. We were given quizzes. Now, in law school, you're supposed to read a multiple choice question with 5 possible answers and spend 3 to 5 minutes because they're trying to fool you in a very slight way. Everybody knows everything, but they're really trying to fool you. I didn't wait 3 to 5 seconds. I solved it within 2 seconds, and I was always done by far the fastest. I read much slower, but I could think in orders of magnitude faster than my classmates.
Okay.
And I would usually get perfect scores. So I'm sitting around 20 minutes into class going, do, 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 twiddling my thumbs, and most of them don't finish. Then I had to focus. I couldn't do the writing. I couldn't do the reading. I just couldn't keep up. So I
Okay.
did the semester, and then I figured how do we fix the writing? What made this possible? So if you're in the field of dyslexia, everybody knows Orton Gillingham. This is what Bill Gates would use if he had dyslexic kids. This is what the
Okay.
wealthy use. It's 80 grand a year. Orton passed away in
Oh gosh.
1948.
Okay.
Yeah, Gillingham in the 50s. Hasn't changed a lot since then. I don't. In your field, have things changed since the 1950s?
In chemistry? No. I mean, we have certainly there's technological improvements, but like chemistry as a general rule, you keep on doing the exact same thing. It's the scientific method. You
Right, but
know,
have we learned that much more in the field of chemistry since the 50s?
I mean, I would say yeah. I mean, at least my doctoral dissertation was a tremendous contribution to science right there in 1994 or
Right.
1998.
And so,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So since then, we've learned a lot, but not in my field. So what I'm about to tell you,
Okay.
if somebody's going to say they got something new in dyslexia, you have to know where the source comes from, and if it's not
Okay.
legitimate, it's a scam. There's a lot of problems in my field. So everything in my field comes from this book. Okay, this is from
Sally
Yale.
Shades.
Yep,
Yeah.
brain imaging for the first time.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
Wait,
about to show you.
like functional MRI stuff? Okay.
Yes, I'm going to show you the solution to dyslexia in one diagram.
Okay.
Okay, oops, let me see if I can get that right. Okay, I'm not going to use unimpaired brain because I think that's kind of horrible.
Yeah.
Do you see
Agreed.
how the back part of the dyslexic brain has almost no neural activity?
Yeah. Yes.
And you see how the back part of the gen ed brain is extraordinarily active?
Yes.
Okay, now look at the front part. You see how the dyslexic brain's about 2.5 times overactive?
Yes. I can see that.
Okay, so that's what I use. According to Yale, this deals with this deals with articulation followed by word analysis. So
Okay.
what I did when I was funded by the New York State Senate is it took years. Is I said, okay, we're going to take highly motivated dyslexic high school kids, juniors and seniors who are highly intelligent, highly motivated, excellent family support, college bound, the ideal.
Yeah.
What do you think? And they had middle school writing skills. What do you think happened
Okay.
when we gave them the GRE?
I would imagine pre or post your program because I would imagine.
Pre-test. They were giving the test of entering graduate students for writing,
Yeah,
and they're writing
yeah.
at the 7th or 8th grade level. What do you think happened?
Right. Okay. Just for anybody listening, by the way, the GRE that's a test that's like your SAT when you're going to go into graduate school. So you're expected to have at least college education level type, ability here. So I would imagine it was a crash and burn kind of situation, at least in the writing part of it, pre-program
Yes,
anyway.
and that's what we just gave them the writing part, and that was exactly what happened. According to Dr.
Okay.
Lichka, State University of New York Distinguished Professor in Psychology, the pre-test writing was an absolute disaster. It was
Okay.
horrible. All right. He graded them most of them at the 0 percentile, some at the 6, because the kids were so brilliant. You can see the analysis.
Yeah.
One class period a day for the school year, and they increased their writing to the 30th percentile to 70th percentile. And
Okay.
they
After
scored
how long?
after one class period a day for the school year.
Okay.
So some of the kids actually scored above average of entering graduate students.
Yeah.
And they went on to this. Most of them went to the State University of New York at Albany, which was ranked about around 100th in the country at the time. And they graduated with no accommodations, grade point averages
Wow.
between 2.5 to 3.6.
Yeah.
How much do you think it cost the state per kid? Private schools are $80K a year for 4 to 5 years now.
Right. It couldn't be much if it was in a public school. One class period a day.
Yeah, how much do you think it costs per kid?
Well, I mean, I know because I saw on your website.
Oh, okay, cost about little under $900
It's about $900. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. At the same time, the landmark college at the time, their success rate was 25 to 30%.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it cost, that was 2 to 3 years of full-time college education.
Yeah.
And it cost 100 to 150,000 just for tuition. Forget
Oof.
about room and board. So I
that's
was
nuts.
3x more effective,
Yeah.
3 times more effective for less than 1% of the cost. I thought I did something. I did
Yeah.
nothing. When I presented it, I was ripped apart for 2 reasons. Number one, the professors came and told me, and they said, "Oh, you got the 70th percentile on the GRE. We don't care. We're getting the 95th percentile. We want the craft of research." I'm like, "The craft of what?" And it was a book that came out from the University of Chicago in 1995
Okay.
because their Ph.D. students didn't know how to write dissertations. They didn't know how to write advanced.
Sure.
And they broke it into 3 parts: context, get everybody on the same page, identify the problem, and then come up with an innovative solution where you at least have a modest increase in knowledge, something at least modestly original. And they said, if you can't do that, don't write the paper, which pretty much gets rid of almost every undergraduate paper and high school paper in the United States. Okay.
I would imagine.
So I dropped that to 4th grade. Okay.
What do you mean?
For context. Well, I dropped it. I dropped context to 4th grade. We do context for 4th and 5th graders. We do problems for middle school, and we do solution for high school kids.
Okay.
And when I spoke to, when I went and I spoke to the teachers, they said, "Great, you got the ideal situation, which is extremely rare, solved. What do we do for the rest of the kids?" And I was like, "Okay." Took 8 years off before I came back to present.
Oh gosh.
And because now I have to bring this down to everybody. So what the first thing I did is I went back to this, okay? And the front part of the brain, again, it's articulation followed by word analysis. I flipped it over to word analysis followed by articulation. Okay. And just to show you how this works, I want you to imagine to select a kid who can't write anything. Okay. 3-word sentences beyond them. All right. Let's call her Sarah. So I have them type out, always type out, no handwriting, because to type the letter W or to handwrite it, handwriting takes up all the mental space. So we have you type out hero +sign. What are we talking about? Sarah, plus sign, what are we talking about? And the thing that Sarah loves above anything else is swimming. She swims all the time, every chance she gets. So Sarah, plus sign, swimming. See how we got there?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Now we have to add something for the plus sign. So when I do this, 90% of the special ed teachers get it wrong because they don't follow it exactly. So what I tell you, you have to follow exactly. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Does Sarah like or dislike swimming?
She loves swimming, you already said.
Okay. Now go ahead and replace the plus sign with that word. What's the three-word sentence?
Yeah, Sarah likes swimming.
But that's not what I asked. I asked, does Sarah like or dislike swimming? You automatically added the S and completed the sentence because you're educated.
Sure.
Sarah can't add the S. She doesn't know how. So now we have to figure out how to get her to add the letter S. And with Orton Gillingham, it's seeing, touching, hearing, multisensory approach. It would take you a couple of weeks to learn how to do that. I'm dropping
Okay.
this to a few minutes. So what we do is my assumption is Sarah speaks proper English. That's my assumption.
Sure.
Okay. So then I asked Sarah, read what you wrote out loud. Sarah like swimming, because that's what I asked her. I said, okay, Sarah, does that sound generally correct? She says, no. I say, fix it. Sarah likes swimming. We practice that with 10 likes and dislikes. Then we add reason one. And when we add a reason one, what I tell students is before you put the period down, you can ask any question. But once you put the period down, if you made a spelling mistake or a huge, and I mean huge grammar mistake, you have to retype it. So what do? They instead of saying, did I spell having fun correctly? And you can say yes or no. And then if she made a mistake, she just has to retype the misspelled words. But she drops the
Sure.
period. So they always drop the period. And then I said, oh, you made spelling mistakes. Now you got to retype the whole thing. And then she says, I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm not going to make that mistake. And what does she do? She makes the mistake.
Okay.
7 times further down, she's still making those mistakes. And I said, Sarah, you made a silly mistake or a silly error. Those are the two least offensive terms I can come up with. And then she concentrates so hard that sometimes you can see sweat coming down her forehead. Around 12 or 13 times at the worst case scenario, she finally gets it correct. And I keep her on that until it's 20 likes and 20 dislikes. Read one, we do another 20. 2 reasons, 3 reasons, another 20 each. So by the time we get done with 80 sentences done correctly, we have now taken Sarah from reading and writing at the first grade kindergarten level to the end of second, beginning of third grade level.
Okay.
It's that simple. Okay. Now that's just the beginning part. But when I found out is number one, when I'm working with typical students, these aren't the super motivated kids. So I had to move that word analysis followed by articulation. Like and dislike is a simple form of word analysis. After because is articulation. That was part 3 of the model. The first thing I found is we had to ask the kid their speciality for
Okay.
dyslexics. Did you ever see the movie Fast and Furious?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay. Well,
Not
in
not a
that
big Vin
movie,
Diesel fan, I guess, but
oh, I can. Okay. In that movie, they had this junk car they brought in, and he's working with this super kid who's redesigning it. And he asked him,
okay.
"Why are you not in MIT?" He said, "I can do this advanced computer stuff. I can't do the other things." So
Okay.
during that intervention period, you have to be in the kid's speciality. Here's how you find out what that is.
All
What you
right.
do is you ask the child. It's a Saturday morning. You can do anything you want during the day, and that's their speciality. All right. When I do this privately, this is my most requested book.
Really?
Okay.
Okay. So it's a book about Walt Disney, everybody.
Yes, Walt Disney, The Triumph of the American Imagination. Have you ever been to Disneyland or Disney World?
Of course. I used to live like an hour away from it, yes, when I was a kid.
Okay.
So,
Did you find it that it's like the most magical place on earth?
not really. I always thought it was a little creepy. But
Okay.
I did like the
Well,
haunted house.
well, uh, that's what they portray themselves as, and the kids want to know who go there. They're just really into what they think is the magic. And I was like, okay, going to Magic Kingdom or Disneyland, and Main Street USA is Marceline, Missouri, where Walt was between age 5 and 10. And there's
Okay.
two universal themes that make the Disney magic. The first one is really easy to find. It's 10% of the value. The second one is 90% of the value. I've never had a parent find it. But when I
Okay.
have their 12-year-old daughter tell them, Mom, here's what it is. And they're like, I have a master's degree, and my 12-year-old daughter just had better comprehension than I did. I
Right.
said, yeah,
Of
did I do
course.
my job? So
Yeah.
they say, yeah, you did your job. So you have to focus on their speciality, number one. You step outside of that, you're down 50% with the most motivated kid. For a typical
Okay.
student, you're down 75 and 8%. Next, we have to focus on how you teach them. And I got this by interviewing a lot of senior dyslexic professors. A lot of them
Okay.
were STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Yet they're
Yeah.
taking like art history, philosophy. I said, well, good for you. Well, I didn't like art history. I didn't like philosophy. I said, well, why are you taking the course? They said because the teacher taught not from the general to the specific, but from the specific to the general. Because these are the two questions I grabbed from that. And this is what convinces a dyslexic student to work with me. I would say, in your speciality, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed, but with little to no organization? And they would say yes. And I say, okay. So what we're going to do is force your brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. And that was
Okay.
typically, if they say yes to that, at the very least, they're ADD, ADHD, or mildly dyslexic. The treatment's the same for
Okay.
all three. Then to see if it's severe dyslexia, because the parents don't want to spend $5,000 on a neuropsychological evaluation if they don't have to. So I
Sure.
say, in your speciality, fingers, keyboard, fingers, keyboard. Ideas in your head, you take your fingers, you put it on the keyboard. Does the idea fly out of your head, leaving you with an empty brain?
Okay.
If most of them will say no, if they say yes, I say, okay, you're severely dyslexic. And they're like, how did you know? And I'm like, you think you're the only one. All right.
Right.
So then I get them to buy in. We find their book, an audio book that they're interested in, and we proceed with that and improve their reading and writing skills. So that's how
Okay.
we take the model. We start off with context. We show them how to write a body paragraph with a quote. We answer who,
Okay.
what, when, where, how, why. And then when we move on to the problem, I have them reduce the context to a medium to long sentence. And then we reduce that to a short to medium sentence. And then we reduce that to a one word universal theme. Universal theme is a human condition that applies to all people across all cultures, all races, everything across time.
Sure.
So then I have them take the context question and use the universal theme as a lens, and we come up with three solutions. Okay. And these are not going to break groundbreaking stuff. These are what you expect a well reasoned person to come up with. All
Sure.
right. And then the solution part is so complicated. That's something I do at a different time. But what I wanted to discuss with your guest tonight is I understand trying to communicate sensitive things that you want to say in writing is kind of difficult for your audience. Is that right?
So usually what I end up talking about is around identity. But yes, I mean when you're talking about like human themes, yeah, this ends up being along the lines of it. So yeah, go ahead. You're
Okay.
on target.
Okay. So what I would do is for adults, because we don't have a lot of time. We're busy. All right.
Sure.
What I wanted to do was to come up and say, what is a quick way to writing emails or writing things in your journal where you can come up with some rock solid solutions to what you're looking for? So I have you answer, and I strongly suggest you start using artificial intelligence. Pick your model, it doesn't matter, and answer it, working with it, answer who, what, when, where, how, why. Why do I put why last? Because it's normally the most important. Sometimes how is the most important. So you answer that thoroughly, okay? And then you work with the artificial intelligence to get it down to one medium to long sentence. And I'm not talking
Okay.
about some, technically correct sentence that's 3 paragraphs long. I'm talking about a medium to normally long sentence. Why? Because that's about all we can really cognitively that's all we can really concentrate on. It gets too long, we can't do it. So once you do that, then work with the artificial intelligence and say, okay, here's my context. We're using the crafted research system. How do I get this down to a short to medium length problem?
Okay.
All right. Notice we're getting shorter here. So you do that. Then ask it, what is a one word universal theme based on the problem?
Okay.
And then I would say, give me an age and education appropriate definition. So for you, I would say, give me a definition to this universal theme that's at the Ph.D. level.
Okay.
All right. And it'll go and do that. If you're dealing with, if you're in college, give this to me at the second year college level or whatever it is. If you don't like the word, then say, give me 10 synonyms and their definitions. And it will. Pick the one you want. Okay. So
Okay.
now what we're going to do is we're going to take that context, medium to long sentence, and we're going to focus it through the universal theme and come up with 1 to 3 solutions. This is not going to be innovative. This is going to be
Sure.
like if you're going what I tell my students when they do this, if you're reading a book, like let's say just one that randomly come to my head, Mice and Men, that you read in high school or middle school.
Sure. Yeah.
You're going to come up with what a well-read student at that age education level is supposed to come up with. There's really not that many solutions when you go to a very specific universal theme with a very specific context. And what that allows you to do is come up with saying, instead of spending all this time, like, what's a good solution that I can apply now? Mm-hmm. You get used to this with good artificial intelligence. I can shoot an email out in 60 to a minute or 2.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you get really fast at it. Dyslexics get really fast at this sort of thing. So that's one thing I really wanted your listeners to understand is, how do I communicate? Like, I'm having a problem at my work because I'm dealing with some bigot who doesn't like me for this reason. How do I
Sure.
communicate my concerns to my boss or to human resources? Well, go through the content, go through, answer the who, what, when, where, how, why, get it down to a medium to long sentence context, get the problem, get the universal theme that you're happy with, run it through the context through the universal theme, and then you will have some solutions that are very practical that you can give to your manager and to human resources to stop this nonsense.
Sure. Sure.
Okay. And because I was discriminated against my entire life as a dyslexic.
I see.
Okay. And when you're trans, or you have some identity that's not standard, the bigotry out there can be overwhelming, even though I find that nowadays it's not as open as it used to be. It's more subtle and sophisticated
Yes.
in some aspects. And when you're dealing with that, coming up with a good solution that you can just send off to management to fix this, because either they fix it or, you can go to the feds and, well, actually probably more to your state government nowadays to get things corrected.
Right. Right. You're not going to the feds this time. This time, if you're transgender, but
Yeah, but
just
it
a
goes
guess.
back. It goes back and forth, and we'll see who the next president is. But
Of course, yeah.
I'm just saying that is a solution to, and you fire this off to your state agency, and believe me, if the business gets contacted by them, yeah, they start to shake a bit.
Right, of course. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying too, because what I'm hearing, what I've heard you explain, is you can teach dyslexic people to improve their reading and writing performance by introducing this process of context, problem, solution. I mean, is that ends up being a different mode of thinking? Is that what it is really? Because I mean, like, that's sort of to my mind, that's a lot of the scientific method right there. You get everybody on the same page so that you can have a discussion. Otherwise, you can't have a discussion, right? If you're not on the same page. But then you can define a problem, and then you can talk about solutions. So and I mean, if you're doing this in science, obviously that's you're designing experiments, you're gathering data, whatever, doing your data analysis. So why is it like why is this process? Why is the process important? To yeah, let me stop right there. Let me stick a question mark there. Why is that process the real key?
Because nowadays, I'm sure you found in your work where artificial intelligence is getting very, very powerful.
Oh,
I'm one
sure.
of the few people who spent the day the $200 Pro plan came out last December by ChatGPT. I bought it.
Yeah.
Okay, and now this is the summer of 2025. O3 Pro is amazing. Anytime I ask you to do something, it thinks for 10 to 15 minutes. I have two of those
Okay.
going at the same time. Then I'm doing something else. Then I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Why is it important? Number one, we have to follow the model. Your speciality followed by specific to the general, and then word analysis followed by articulation. Then
Okay.
we do context problem solution. Why is that
Okay.
important? Two examples: one in academia, one in the real world. I
Cool.
had a student years ago when I was not very good at doing this. Okay, this is pre-pandemic. She contacted her professor. I had her go to a specific college, not for because she liked the college, because she wanted to work with a specific professor. Standard for grad school, very unusual for an undergrad. So after the first class, she goes up and she says, "We have a big paper. I'm not very good at the craft of research. Here's my trouble. Can we have a meeting sometime this week so you can tell me how to get started?" He called me. What is a college freshman doing with the craft of research? I have trouble getting my doctoral students to do this. I said, well, we started doing it when she was in seventh grade. He's like, what? Again, we're a lot more
Sure.
efficient now.
Yeah.
So I said, here's her strengths and weaknesses. As he worked with her, she started giving him papers where he learned some nuggets of things he didn't know before. Okay,
Yeah.
nothing earth
Fascinating.
shattering, but I've learned something from this kid. All right. Then he wanted to work with her because of her reading and writing skills, not wanting to work with her because she's dyslexic, which is a standard thing.
Okay.
And it transformed things. The other one happened last year. One of my old clients contacted me, and the boss loved artificial intelligence. He said, "What I need is I want to learn something from you." And I overhired, and those with good ideas keep their job. All right. He
Right.
contacted me. He's in panic. I said, unlike artificial intelligence, where every time they come out with a new model, you have to learn to prompt engineer. I'm like, I taught you to prompt engineer your brain. You don't know anything about artificial intelligence, doesn't matter. Work with it to get the context. So he did. Then he did the problem. He said, I hate this. I said, welcome to the adult world. All right. He finished up with a solution, turned in a 5-paragraph essay. The boss was going through it. 1, 2, 3. I can't use this. I can't use this. I can't use this. He goes to his, I can use this. This is good. Guess who got to keep their job?
Well, sure, that guy, but
But that's just an example. He had like next to no understanding of artificial intelligence, but he was
yeah.
reasonably trained in the craft of research, which is the same thing you did for your doctorate, not knowing about it. But you pick up that book, it's like, yeah, I know exactly what this is. This is what I did. It's just the best book written out in that area. And he's like, okay, I know it. I figured it. He figured it out on his own. And then before you know it, he's training people a week later on how to do this. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just starting. I came up with ideas. This worked. All this stuff didn't work. This worked. This is what I did. And the people are like, oh, I said, yeah,
Yeah.
there's an advantage to being dyslexic. And this is where I keep coming back to that part of the brain. See that two and a
Sure.
half times
Sure.
overactivity?
Yeah.
Why not use that for the first time? And then what I
Okay.
found out is a lot of their older brothers and sisters tend to be fighting to be valedictorians. You know, the kid gets a B plus on a test and they think it's the end of the world for being
Oh,
bad.
sure. Right.
I show them the same process. They fly through it. The dyslexic goes much deeper.
Okay. Why is that? And how is that?
Well, when we went to grad school, as you understand, for your dissertation, the original idea is the currency of the realm.
Sure.
We
Right.
walk
Otherwise, you get no PhD. Right.
Right. We dyslexics walk into their doctoral program day one. They're top of the class. This is their speciality. They've been like, what's your contribution? It's going to be X. First day of grad school.
Okay.
And they love the idea. You're top of your class. It's, as I said, mine was done in less. When I went to Professor Collins to get his approval, I was done in less than 2 weeks.
Okay. So
All
this,
right.
let me make sure I get this then. So because that is that 2.5 times greater activity toward the front that you've shown us in these images, that is an indication of specialization, that because that is more active there are more ideas flowing, and so you can use that differently. I'm not sure I
Yes.
understand still.
So
Okay.
essentially, what is dyslexia? Is we think very rapidly with little to no organization.
Okay.
So when I talk to dyslexics, when I ask them those 2 questions, I tell them what we're going to do is we're going to force the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output.
Okay.
Okay. And the other thing I tell them is if you can write it, you can read it. Okay. If you can
Okay.
write out a word and you know the definition, guess what? You can read it. So
Okay.
right after those sentences, we have a process that I call a half circle: hero, universal, thing, villain, where we have them type out the word and definitions as they go from a base universal theme to pick a synonym that's, instead of being very broad, something that's very narrow. Okay, the best match
Okay.
is what's in their head. And they do that for about 3 to 6 months, and they develop a vocabulary of hundreds of evolved words. So what's weird is, you remember when you took your SAT, how or the ACT, how the verbal section was essentially a vocabulary test?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. So these kids do this at 10 to 12. When they're taking the SAT or ACT, they remember about 70 to 80% of the definitions. And those word lists of hundreds of them, they don't need that. They already know them.
I see.
They know those definitions. To give you an example, people say this can't be done. Here's a little book about Theodore Roosevelt.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best one on the field. Won the Pulitzer National Book Award. First of 3 of a trilogy. Casey was 10. Most motivated kid I ever worked with. I never saw this before. I will never see it again, this pace. She wanted to do reading first. So I signed her this book. She's reading at the 2nd grade level. This is 10th grade to 1st year college level, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, I would
What
imagine.
happened? 6 months later, she was in her room 3 hours a night, 6, 7 nights a week, summertime most of the day. You could go, okay, Casey, 6 months later, this page, pick any word, what's the definition? And she would tell you literally the dictionary definition. She had that book, all the words memorized within 6 months. Normally that
Okay.
takes, the quickest besides this I've seen was 12 months. And typically it's 18 months to 2 years to learn all those words. All right.
Sure.
And then she was sitting in class and a kid came over and saw the reading and picked her book up. The best, some of the best readers in her grade, they couldn't get past the first paragraph.
Okay.
Okay. So she went from about the worst reader in her class to the best in 6 months. I worked with her for 15 minutes a week. Extraordinarily
Oh, wow.
motivated kid. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Clearly.
So when people say, well, reading, it takes forever, it's expensive. No, it's not. I mean, I had
It
a
certainly
10.
isn't expensive.
Well, I mean, again, this is an extremely motivated kid. Most other kids
Yeah.
do it at a much slower pace, but I just use that as an example.
Yeah. Because now I want to ask, because I've done a lot of teaching, and obviously what I do now with writing and podcasting and the videos that I do, it's generally a lot of education. And I like to use analogy. I mean, the way that I've learned the best is analogy, because what you've just said, going from specialization to generalization, tends to work very well. And if you show somebody, look, here is one analogy, then you can take something that is special and specialized, and turn it into more of a theoretical kind of. You can turn the conversation theoretical, and so now you're doing education. But I mean, for what it's worth, I think I had one professor when I was an undergrad who was really good at analogy, And I just picked that up from him. That's just the way I've always worked now. But our educational system doesn't want to do that. Our educational system, I mean, just thinking about chemistry, right? The first thing you take is general chemistry, and then you move on to all the other organic, physical, inorganic, whatever. But you go from the general to the specific. But our brains work really well, first of all, from story, which is an analogy. So if you have a story, you can turn that into a greater, maybe it's a theme that you've been calling it. But I realize I didn't actually get to a question here, but I think where I'm going is with this is to say, I've already discovered that this works really well for education, and there are other educators who do. Is this something that you think is particular then to dyslexic children, that requiring to go from specialization to general, from special to general?
Yes.
Did that question come out at all?
Yes, it's and that's what I got from the senior professors. They would go out of their way to take professors in college that taught that way.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, I'm just going to throw this out to imagine the 1960 Civil Rights Movement. Okay. You ask a high school AP kid, what effect did Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech have in the 1960 Civil Rights Movement?
Okay.
They're off like a shot. They just know what to do. Ask a dyslexic, and they're just like, it's like deer in the headlights. They don't know what to do. We're thinking so rapidly with almost no organization. We flip that and we ask, what personally compelled Martin Luther King to want to give his famous "I Have a Dream" speech? And the next step after the sentences I told you, just to get more specific, I want you to imagine, let's say, a movie review. Have you ever gone to see a movie that you wanted to see, and the reviewer basically tells you exactly what happened? This happened, and this happened, and this happened.
Sure.
I select the appropriate universal theme, and then I ask, how did the director, actors, and screenwriter do? And then I review the movie that way, but you don't know what happened, but you understand what the movie's about. Much more sophisticated way. So how do I get kids to communicate this? First, I call it the half circle process. It's hero, universal theme, optimum villain. So we have a hero. Hero wants to do something. I have them start off writing a basic sentence. So I'm dealing with Ph.D.s. They might write 30 pages. Okay, it's different. Why do we do that now? Because those sentences we discussed. Now they can do a basic sentence. So let's just take an example of give me a movie that everybody knows that you really enjoyed.
Oh gosh, how about Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman. Okay, who's the hero?
Well, Wonder Woman.
Okay, what does Wonder Woman want to do in one sentence?
Oh gosh, what does she want to do? She wants to prevent war from breaking out globally.
She wants to prevent war from breaking out globally. Okay, what is the most important word of that sentence?
War.
Okay, well, war is important. I would probably go with prevent.
Yeah, I guess the reason I was thinking war, well, we don't have to, I guess, debate it. But why would you say prevent?
No, but we can go with yours. But do you see how we have a disagreement right there?
We do, yeah. Well, I mean, because here's the. Okay, go ahead.
But that's what you're looking for, because when you have a real passionate, polite discussion about your disagreement, that's where real learning occurs.
Sure.
Okay. The other thing I ask is, what's the word that brings the hero closer to their goal, just moves them in the general direction? What word would that be in that sentence?
Well, in that sentence, yeah, would be prevent as the action, yeah.
Okay. I would argue it was want.
All right, I'll take that.
Do you see how we have, and that's great. So what that means is, as we go through this, I'll show you how this really helps the learning process. Let's start off with war. So war, the base, we have to figure out which way you want to go. Let's just say we want to go with war, because we usually go with the most important one.
Okay.
Why 2? Why two? Because word analysis is the first part of the massive overactivity. When we add word analysis, as much as possible, coming back to Yale's research, it makes the student really, really understand what their position is. So we go to war, and we go to the thesaurus, and what happens is with a base universal theme, which is the most important word most of the time, it's generally very broad. We would want to go through the analogies and find an analogy that best matches the definition in your brain.
Okay.
Okay. For the kids, I'd have you type out war and go to Merriam-Webster's online dictionary. You can't copy and paste. It's a waste of time. What you have to do is pick out your definition and then type out the word and the definition. Now, I don't know how many times you need to type out the word and definition until you know it. It might be 3 times. It might be 20. I have no idea. But as you keep doing this, okay, with your book, as you keep doing this, at some point, you're going to know that definition. All right.
Sure.
So then I'm just going to use wars that you pick something else. Let's call it conflict is the better one, the best. Okay. So now we have Wonder Woman, conflict, and then we ask who is the optimum villain to prevent her from accomplishing her goal? It's a person or a concept. So is it a person or a concept?
In this case, it was a person. Well, it was a god.
Okay. Okay. And what's the name of the god?
Ares, the god of war.
Yeah, Ares. Okay. Wonder Woman, conflict, Ares, god of war. We're separated by plus signs. And then I tell them the plus signs are part of the visual default writing strategy, Professor James Collins' strategies for struggling writers. And I would say, go ahead and read out loud that without the plus signs, Wonder Woman. What word did I come up with? It was conflict, Ares, god of war.
Ares.
Wonder Woman wanted to prevent conflict, but was prevented by Ares, the god of war.
Right.
Okay. Now, that is bringing you into mid-third grade level sentences. Then we add because, reason 1, 2, and 3, and now we're in near the end of third grade level sentences.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And as you go through that, now you know, because you have your own universal thing. Let's say you picked conflict and I picked prevent. And I say, I think you're wrong because, and you tell me I'm wrong because, and then we have a discussion in class and we can actually discuss things like kids can discuss things like an adult.
Sure.
They really learn. See how we did that?
Yes. I mean, and for what it's worth, I mean, that was why I chose war, because I didn't want to put out any spoilers. Now anybody who hasn't seen Wonder Woman knows that Ares, the god of war, wants to instigate a conflict. I'm just giving you a hard time.
But now we can discuss. So we ended up on conflict. When you're doing a review about the movie, you can say, this movie was basically about conflict. This is how the director did. This is how the actress did. This is how the screenwriter did. Now you're doing a much better review than somebody who went to Columbia School of Journalism with a master's degree that tells you this happened, and that happened, which I find lazy and horrible. Once I know what happened, it's like watching a sporting event and knowing the score. Why watch the game?
Well, sure. Yeah. Agreed.
So,
because now you're talking about motivations and the overall theme. I get you. I mean, it's you go from a story to the reason why the movie deserves to be made, which is definitely a bigger concept. So I'm with you on that.
Yes. So basically, that's what we're talking about.
I see. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm saying that is doing that process. When I have students, again, going through this big, thick book, all right, I will start off on the section on Marceline, Missouri, and it's 3,500 words. It takes them a couple of months to get through those 3,500 words.
Sure.
But by the time they get through chapters 4 or 5, they're pretty much reading at that grade level.
I see.
Once you're in 4th grade and you haven't solved this, it's a private dyslexic school that takes 4 to 5 years and running about 60 to 80,000 a year.
Yeah.
Or you can do it at home in a fraction of that time.
And you try to work with students who are younger then.
I typically start off with kids at least in fourth grade. I prefer fifth.
Okay. Okay.
Something happens when a kid's 10 years old, where a
Yes.
well-raised child you can start giving limited adult responsibilities to.
Right.
And I just find that that's the age I just prefer to start working with. You
Yeah.
can work
No,
with
that
them
makes sense.
younger, but what's different about my approach is with Orton Gillingham, the older you are, the longer it takes. With my
I
approach, the
see.
older you are, the quicker you pick it up.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That's good.
So I so if you had, let's say you were dyslexic, those basic sentences, what would take, a fifth grader maybe a couple of weeks to do, you would go through in like 20 minutes.
Okay.
All right. PhD, the quickest guy that the most advanced person I taught had an MBA from Columbia University, Ivy League,
Yeah.
and he did very well there. And he found this to be immensely helpful.
It seems like getting an MBA would be difficult when you have dyslexia. So, I mean,
Oh,
but it's
uh,
fascinating that, you know, go ahead, actually, go ahead.
it was hard. He just, well, everybody else was going on having fun. He just worked.
Oh, I see. Okay.
He had all his books read and all the assignments done before he showed up the first day of class, and it still
Oh,
took him
okay.
forever.
Yeah. All right. Wow.
Yeah,
All
that's what
right.
he said. The summer and over the winter break, that's all he did. That's the only way he could have got through.
It makes sense. I mean, because I would imagine reading was always much slower from than other people. So,
Oh, it's yeah. Even today, I avoid it. I listen a lot more now. My personal library from Audible is over 600 books.
wow. It's a decent number of books there. Wow.
I had one student, she was very big in the Civil War, went through major surgery. She said, I'm going to be laid up for 6 months. I don't know what to do. I said, well, you won't get through everything. And she's like, huh? I gave her I loaned her my library. I loaned her two trilogies, and combined, you're talking over 200 hours of audio.
Oh my gosh. What were the
Okay.
trilogies? Now I got to know what your favorites were.
Um, It depends. I prefer Bruce Cotton over the other guy who I forget his name off the top of my head, um, because he looked at things more from the northern perspective. During the
Okay.
Civil War, we pretty much went into the Midwest, and the North defeated the South just decisively in the West.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, Lee had his 1 year of miracles, and the Army of the Potomac was no good until Grant came over it and he said, "Okay, there's your enemy. Keep going." And he just kept throwing guys materiel on it until he broke Lee. So basically, I like Kenton better than the other guy. I can't remember that trilogy. It's considered the better writing, but both of them together. The other guy looked at it from the southern perspective. Caton looked at it from the northern perspective.
Got
Gave
it.
you an overview, but then I had her listen to all the biographies of all the major people, and then when she got done with that, I had her repeat the experience.
Oh,
And then you learn
wow.
a lot more.
Okay. Oh, sure.
And yeah, so after the 6 months, she said, "I know a lot about the Civil War." So she goes into college majoring in history, a little arrogant. I let her professor know what happened. And the professor said, for a college freshman, you have a pretty decent background. Nothing compared to what you would be if you wanted to go into graduate school. And then she's like, wow, this is so much work. She got her undergrad degree in history, decided not to go into grad school, ended up going to Wall Street to be an analyst.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Well, it's like you went through a PhD. What does an analyst do? Look at data, ask the right questions, find
Yeah.
things that actually add value, and that's what she did.
I mean, it makes sense. I guess, yeah, most people don't look at things like that, I guess is my point. I mean, I feel like there were other things I should have asked you in terms of the process, because it seems like that's the process I've taught students myself. That find what you're looking for, look at what you got, and then how can you transform them. This is, I'm talking about chemistry problems, but it sounds like, we're talking about similar processes, but
Oh, they're very similar. All I did is I took the craft of research and I made it very simple and very powerful.
yeah, yeah, I
And
get
that's what
it.
took me 20 years to do. It
Yeah,
was just the first part of it. I had to take 8 years off to figure it out.
yeah, that's that's a lot of time to work on something. So,
Yes. And now I've been teaching, like for the last 10 years, I've been teaching this to to dyslexic, special ed teachers in New York City.
yeah,
At the Everyone Reading
yeah.
Conference. And yeah, it's my biggest one is I taught the New Jersey Association of Learning Consultants how to take kids from they can't write C spot run through a basic 5-paragraph essay. And I did that in about 2 hours,
Holy
twice in
cow.
one day,
Okay.
their entire
Yeah.
80 plus members. So
Wow.
yeah, I'd like to have about 3 or 4 hours. So what I'm
Yeah.
doing now is New York State's trying to redo its entire K through 5 education. They spent an entire year, 100 best people in the state on dyslexia, teachers, parents, researchers. And they came up with a report. So you can just go to Google, type this New York State Dyslexia Task Force, New York State Education Department. Then they
Okay.
went to fund it. And I'm sorry, California does not beat New York in taxes. We're the number one tax state in the country.
Woo, I
I argue
guess.
this with California people all the time. And my state said we can't afford the fix. So then I worked with some politicians at the state level in the Assembly and the Senate to go to school districts. They told us no, even though we were going to do it for free. And I had one of the teachers on the state task force, Evelyn Whitebay. She was 3 to 4 times more effective than a typical special ed teacher. The state education department really pushed her to be on the task force. So now we're going right to parents. And once our book is finished, which is going to take about 3 more months, we're going to use that, tell parents about it, and we're going to invite highly motivated, highly intelligent kids with excellent family support between 4th grade and on up to participate for no cost, and we're going to bring them through context and problem. And the price of admissions is a handwritten letter to representatives of the New York State government.
Yeah.
To say we found a solution where the schools have failed and the state government has failed, parents will succeed.
I like that idea. Like it a lot.
So that's my next big project. And wow, you've done your dissertation. You know how much fun it is. So we're limiting this book to 108 pages because we can get a good hardcover deal on Amazon.
Okay.
And it just kind of goes in the science that we discussed and it kind of walks you through the high levels of context and problem.
Yeah. Okay. I know that. So you sent me a special link as well, because I know that there was an offer that you wanted to make to listeners today. Because I also want to say, how do people engage with you more on the internet?
The best thing to do is,
Go ahead.
go to
Sorry.
that link. Go to that link, which will probably be in your description of the show. Just
Yeah.
click on it. You answer a few questions. And
Okay.
what that does is you're going to get a document that's basically the 3 reasons your child's not doing well in school due to dyslexia and how to get past it. And it's kind of what we were discussing today. And then we set up a free 15 to 30-minute appointment with me where I discuss this with your child or yourself if you're going through this. And I ask those 2 questions. And typically, the children are the hardest thing to convince compared to even PhDs.
Okay.
Because they tried everything, it doesn't work. And they're like, yeah, that's how my brain works. And then I ask, is this how you'd like to overcome your concerns? And the vast majority of the time, yes. So then I talk with the parents and I say, I'm going to show you how to teach your kid and to overcome these concerns. And you can do it yourself, a couple of times a week, time permitting. And you don't have to mortgage your house to send them to a private dyslexic school.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's cool. So there's, aside from that special link too, what other ways can people find you on the internet now? Social
Best
media,
thing-
your own website?
Well, the best thing to do is go to Dyslexia Classes Plural, Dyslexia Classes Plural with an S, and .com, and then just go to the contact me form if you have
Okay.
something really specific, and we just get right back to you.
All right. Good. I see. So you have a presence on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube that I saw linked on your own website. What's the content? How else could people contact you like that?
Typically, as I said, the best thing as a dyslexic, I try to recommend just those two channels
Okay.
because as a dyslexic organization is my bugaboo, and I can't tell you how many computer guys I had set up a system so I can actually track everything and get back to people.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. That's good.
The
All
hardest
right.
thing for a dyslexic is not coming up with a solution that'll change the world. It's how to, like with Podmatch. I started 2.5 months ago, and then I just became the top 1% of
Yeah.
guests. And to organize everything, thank goodness they thought this through because it is just really difficult. But they did such a great job organizing things. I can keep track of everything.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, good. So we're running low on time now. I have really appreciated hearing your story and everything that you've been able to do to help, you know, students, because education's a big thing. You don't if you struggle to read, you're going to fall behind very quickly, as you've
Hmm.
mentioned. And so, I appreciate all of the work that you do. Thank you so much, Russell.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me do my little shutdown, thing.
Okay.
So I am Amethysta Herrick. I've been speaking with Russell Van Brocklen about dyslexia and how we address it, and then also the craft of research and how you can apply that in ways that end up improving everything about the way that you can organize all your thoughts. So thank you again, Russell. Truly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.